Welcome to Landria Onkka on YouTube, here to help you break through those fears, live an awesome life. Oops, got the door open, a little noisy out there. I was asked what the difference between the ego, what's the difference between the ego and intuition? How do you know? Now, this is sort of funny because I want to just point something out to you that's obvious, but that is sort of insane about human beings. I mean, this is our brain, and all the talking is going on because of us. We're the only person instigating that talking, and yet we don't know what it is. we can't differentiate between an ego-based discussion, chatter in the head, or intuition. This is such an unknown space for us. It's, in other words, stuff going on in your head that you feel like you have no control over. And that sounds insane, it doesn't? It's like, well, it's your body and your brain, your mind. Why aren't you controlling that? Is there any conversation going on that you don't like? Yeah. I mean, that's why you're on my channel, right? There's still stuff going on that you feel like you're not controlling. You know, and we're controlling all of it. But then we say, okay, I am controlling it, but I'm doing stuff, obviously, unconsciously, to create effects that I don't want. So I'm controlling it. When you come to terms with, most people don't come to terms with the fact that they're controlling it, right? Especially if it's bad stuff. It's like, I couldn't possibly have programmed abuse. Well, you know what? Bad stuff is bad stuff according to humans. There's no good nor bad, but let's name it bad. What's bad to you and what's bad to her and what's bad to him, completely different things. Why? Because we all have different paths, different lessons, different degrees of what we're going after. It's all school. And we're all taking different courses and different subjects and different levels. That's all it is. So these bad things don't always make sense. But it's sort of funny. I've noticed that I'll hear comments, see comments coming over that, oh, well, yeah, I'm the one that created the bad relationship and then the job, but I definitely didn't do create the abuse or what. Yeah, you did. See, the issue is that, we're confining ourselves here on planet Earth. And this is where the subject matter of intuition versus ego all comes into play. We think that we are just this human being. We sort of forget that what were you before you were born into this world? Okay, sperm and an egg. Well, those were live, and those were part of your parents, and then they came from something, and they came from something, and something, and something, and something. It's infinity. Everything comes from something. Everything comes from something, and then gets created into, think about that. You didn't just start as a human being. That energy was what before that? Two separate things that came together to create you. It's sort of freaky when you think about it. Well, that's just all energy. So when you think of coming into this body and then manifesting things and this material world, you forget that you were absolutely energy prior to being a human being, and that there was power behind that too. Decision making. Always decision making. Always. You always participated in everything. So that set of parents, those circumstances, that country, that skin color, that religion, all these things that you arranged to step into were still part of you making decisions. I know it's tough because we just think of ourselves as, boom, I'm a person now, and there was nothing before that. Everything was before that, and always will be, and always was. So let's not go into the beyond our comprehension kind of discussion, but I want you to remember that, because you are absolutely still that energy that is eternal, that always was, always will be, always is connected to exactly what it is, and that's infinity and limitless powers. Now you're playing a role in this body. You decided to come to a density and experience this crazy place that we call Earth, this amazing planet that we have managed to really F up big time, right? But we're repairing that now. We're on our way. We truly are. We've already been transcending into fourth. A lot of you are experiencing the big changes and shifts that are happening so that the structures are falling off, your relationships, your jobs, some really crazy stuff happening to you. It's you sloughing off the stuff that's not going to work because you're transitioning into fourth and then fifth. Fifth is when it smooths out, and that's coming very soon. You're going to start to experience that. We've been getting a lot of numeric messages off the charts. And it happened today. I thought it was backing off, but I was talking about it. I looked at the clock and it was 1:11. I said, oh my gosh, it's still happening. So I want you to understand that everything is so beautifully synchronized, not chaotic. And everything, including your thoughts, are so much bigger than what you imagine. So when you think that, you know, my thought and my ego is here and then intuition is out there, everything sort of seems to blend in. Now, here, how do you tell the difference between the two? Because that intuition is actually tapping into what I call the first energy field, which is your higher self that's always in play, always making decisions on the other side. It is. You may not think like that. You think, oh, I'm here now. No, you're still connected. You never lose your connection because nothing can be separated. There is no separation. Everything is one thing interacting in different expressions. Still one thing. All right? Okay? Hang with me here. So when you are in an ego state, you will always put yourself first. Your needs will come first. An ego lacks compassion. An ego is always thinking of the material world first, and most of the time doesn't even comprehend or care about anything beyond that. All right, so go into that space and say, is what I'm going after right now strictly to satisfy a material world desire for an individual-based entity? In other words, am I putting any thought into the collective, what I'm contributing as a person, how I'm behaving as a person in this situation? Does that feel right? Now, some of these decisions, intuition you'll get is about your own self, right? Because you are on a spiritual path. So let's say you're in a situation, you're like, your intuition is telling you that you need to get out of a relationship. Well, come on. If it was your ego and your ego really wanted that relationship, you'd want to stay in it. Absolutely, that's your intuition. Because if you're feeling like you need to get out of something, why would you even think? If it was really good for you, even if it was ego-based, if it was spiritually based or ego-based, if you absolutely loved it from an ego standpoint or a spiritual one, you wouldn't even have that thought, right? It wouldn't even come into play. So one of the two is telling you this isn't right. So I guess the answer would be get out of the relationship. The other thing is same thing with a job. All right, or same thing with anything. Now, I would love to hear some examples that you have for me about decisions you're making, because what somebody wrote me who's actually in my e-course class. Go, guys, you can sign up for my spiritual inspiration every week up here, and then you get information on the classes or anything else I've got going. Or you can go down here into the description, and you've got the class that you can click on and go to the cart and see what that's all about. So I've got students doing that. I'm getting their feedback, and I do talk to them about some of their personal stuff if they get stuck. And one of my students said, I'm very sure this is not my ego. But she said she had a situation in business and she felt threatened by somebody who was taking some, intellectual property of hers. She wanted to protect it, and she was open with this person at first, and then all of a sudden she was sort of like saying sign a non-disclosure and whatever, which put this person on the defensive. And of course the vibe that he was getting is that she's a problem, right? We're not working together anymore. She's feeling threatened. So he felt threatened. He cut communications off with her. That was totally ego-based, 100% ego-based. I don't know where he was coming from, but I'll tell you what, whether it was intuition or ego, he knew either way he had to get away from the situation, because she is coming from a feeling threatened situation. She was feeling threatened. That's fear. That was fear, which is sort of funny because she's taken my Breakthrough Fear course. So I was surprised she didn't recognize that right away. So you can be a good business person and protect yourself and still not come from fear. And just know that there are certain things that have to be in place in business for you to operate, because if something happens down the road, obviously you want to be able to protect yourself. And like I said, there's a fine line with some of these things, but just, be smart, because stuff does happen out there, right? You wouldn't buy a house without signing a contract stating that this is what you agree to and this is what I agree to. And that's really just basically saying, here's our agreement of what we will and won't do. It's getting all the details out. That to me is business. But when you start to go into this, conflict with somebody and feeling threatened, or then you're building a barrier that's totally fear and ego based, and you know the difference. You know when you're going into that space. So intuition for me is sitting with silence and saying, okay, there's something I desire, and it could be ego-based, and especially if it's financial or whatever, and say, is this the best thing? Is anybody going to be hurt through this? That in a way that's let's just say spiritually wrong. Spiritually wrong. I don't always abide by the earthly rules, because I think some of them are really ridiculous. But let's say something that's not harmful to somebody. Am I abiding by something? Am I thinking about the good of whatever this situation is? And then you move forward with it and say, okay, if I'm ego-based, when it's ego-based, it's all about you and nothing else, right? So I just want to remind you that you are a human. You're always going to want to protect yourself. You're always going to want to move forward on things, and you're going to make mistakes. And I'm not even sure what a mistake is anymore, right? I really am not sure what a mistake is anymore. So many things happen in our lives where it's like, is that really wrong? We've been told divorce is wrong. Is that really wrong? Who made that rule up? So you have to discriminate within yourself and say, maybe society says this, or there's some code of ethics out there about something that just doesn't even make sense for you, and you feel like you're doing the best thing, and you haven't harmed anybody. And if their ego gets out of whack, because you've done something and you still feel good about what you did, you must move forward with it. And don't go back and start to beat yourself up over it and have your ego say, did I break a earthly rule or society's rule about something that doesn't make sense? This is a very fine line, and it's very individual too. But you will know when your ego is in play, because you're going to really just do things for yourself and only yourself because of what you want. All right? And if it's going to be super harmful. Now, if you're going to stay in a bad relationship because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, that's not good. That's still their karma that they have to deal with if somebody's not treating you well. Or even if they treat you wonderfully and you're just not happy in the relationship, that's not good for them either. Sometimes people get hurt. Owie, been there, done that, right? We all have. It's part of our experience here. So I know I didn't give you a clear-cut answer, but all I can tell you is we know when we look at the situation if we are thinking from an ego-based. And my student was shocked that she didn't. I think she really did know that. She just sort of wanted it verified. Absolutely feeling threatened she was, and feeling like she was losing something. And she's not that she shouldn't have protected herself, but she had to come from a place of really thinking about how she could handle the situation where it was going to not put up a barrier or make somebody feel threatened or have her coming from a threatened, fearful place, because that's never going to work. That synergy, that's not going to resonate. Boom, it's not going to happen. You have to be open and go into it and trust and know that sometimes you're just going to lose. Sometimes you're going to lose. That person, my friend who invested her money and lost, sometimes you just lose. I've been, screwed over, I can't tell you how many times. Sometimes when you think you got a handle on it, you're on planet Earth. Okay, it happened again. All right. So what did I do? I created my own businesses online, and I have a good handle on that. I control what goes on and who I talk to and who I work with and what happens. And there's still going to be stuff that happens out there, right? There are going to be people that don't trust you and make up crap. You know what? You're just going to have to go through life and be okay with that and just say, I'm doing my best. And if you're not doing your best, then take a good look at that and say, how can I improve? How can I be a better person? And how can I put others first? And my whole career now rests around making other people feel good and sharing things with them that could possibly, inspire or encourage them. That's all I'm here to do. And of course, I get rewarded for that. Of course I do. I have to pay my bills like everybody else. So just ask yourself, within the confines of this earthly, existence, what is the best possible decision I can make right now? And is it good for me? And remember, you still have to do things that are good for you. All right? Don't stay in something for somebody else. Don't stay in a bad job to save somebody else. You can't. You can never do that. All right? And again, there are ways of handling situations that are pleasant. Like if you break up with somebody, there's nice ways to do that. It's still going to hurt them, but you sit down and say, you're a wonderful person. This is not working for me. I'm so sorry. I want it to, but it's not. And I don't feel the same way. And you're amazing, if they are. You don't have to lie either. And just do the best you can. Make the best out of what it could be a bad situation. Like, even work. Go in and just say, what? I love you. I love all of this and whatever. Or I so appreciate the years I've been here. If you don't love it, just say, appreciate all that you've given me. I've grown and learned so much. I wish you great success, and it's time for me to go. It's just not working for me anymore. There's so many ways to be so grateful and thankful to that person or situation and then walk out of it. So again, are you handling things the best, highest possible way? And if you're doing that and doing the best for yourself and ultimately for the other person or the job or whatever situation, that's all you can do. And if you make a mistake, actually there's no such thing. It's called growth, spiritual growth. We learn. Could I have handled it better? Yep. You don't know sometimes till you've been there, done that. You're whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. I think you guys have a good handle on this, right? Search your heart. Search your heart. Blessings to you, my friend. Namaste.